Today we're trying something different. We got a 20-foot boat wrap. I measured it at 250 from edge to edge and 230 visual. We're going to do this from scratch. These images are small right now. Right now they're only 38 across. We're going to size this up from the very beginning. So this image I'm going to use as my measurement guide, and then I took an identical image here, which I will use to size up. So from the very beginning, from scratch, File, New, and because the width was 230 visual, that's what we're going to do. And it was 22 high, so that's also what we're going to do. We're going to keep it at 72 resolution, RGB, 8-bit. Background doesn't matter. Color profile, this one stays. Typically this one, I never change it. These are my standard settings. So with as small as this may look, it's big. It's actually very big. So I like to bring in my grid lines on my edges so that when I bring in my image, I can expand my canvas. And I've actually found a better way to expand my canvas to where you can still see the image. I didn't even realize it's a quick keyboard shortcut. I unlock this layer because this was just on an image. This is our Photoshop file. This is just an image. Take this, Control C, Control V. I'm going to make it huge. And I'm just going to make sure that my nose, the up on the bow, and the back end here where the transom is, hit my marks on my grid line. And right there, I'm going to level the boat just a hair. And that should be good enough for a visual representation. Keep that there. Let that settle. Good. Okay. Now, if I hold C, I can recrop my image. So if I want to make sure I get this whole T-top in here, I can come all the way out here, all the way down here, and right there, and then I just release C, and it should crop. There it goes. So now I know that this is my working space. And with boats, especially bass boats, this bow likes to pull the film towards where this trailer would be, not necessarily towards the front of the boat. It likes to come in on the bow. As you can see here, the type warped. Even though that's after type, you understand that this comes into the boat, not across the boat. Back here, it's pretty much all flat real estate, and it's not hard to put type down, print it in, everything. So from this point, I'm going to go back to my, I'm going to delete this. This is no longer useful to me. I'm going to use this here as my reference point. So I know I have 22 high. I got, it says 242, but what we wrote was real or 242 rim to 250. That'd be around the back. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to make sure that if I have 230, I'm just going to add 10 inches this way, 10 inches this way, and I'll get my 250. So from there, I like to take my origin. You can take your origin right here. I'll bring it to this corner. Hold shift. Get my 10 inches there. Same thing, bring my origin down. Bring this over, 10 inches there. Because this is a boat and things can get warped, I'm going to add at least 5 inches of bleed. Say 6 for good measure. And then from here, I'm going to make sure there's my 6. And then I'm going to make sure I have enough top and bottom. So if I wanted to print this on 53-inch material, and my boat currently measures 22, I know that if I have a crafty installer, which we will have when we print this boat, I'm going to be able to print this 22-inch measurement at 26 with no issues. So I should be able to just add 2 inches of bleed on the top and 2 inches of bleed on the bottom. And we shouldn't have any problems as far as install goes. So now I know that that's my printable space. My full outside box is my full printable space. What's going to be on the boat is going to be this inner, and what my visual, just looking at it right now, is in between these two. So I know that I technically have to this grid line and this grid line as my actual working space. So from this point, I'm going to build my template. As I always do, original image. Don't need a multiply layer for this because we're actually just going to hollow out the boat. And now I've done this with other projects, but for a boat, it's much easier because it's so flat. With a car, you like to see, as you can see in the background, you got all these body lines, and maybe you want to see those where they land. That's why I typically will do a multiply layer. So for this, I can actually get rid of this background layer. Sorry, I meant to say mask. That's my mask layer, not my multiply layer. Turn off my OG, and this will be my mask. I like to turn off my grid lines, and I know it says extras, but I mean, you don't want to hit clear guides. You just want to turn them off. So I like to use view, extras, turn off grid. And from this point, I do the same thing I do in every video, and I trace with my polygon tool. That's this tool right here. Polygon lasso tool. I'm also going to be making a tutorial of this for Illustrator right after this. I will specify that this is in Photoshop, and I will be breaking it down as a print file in Photoshop. For Illustrator, it's the same concept, but the crop is a little bit different. And I suggest watching this video first because I will end up taking this crop. As I said here, I'll probably make this a part 1, when I mask this, I can actually now save this file as a PNG. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. If I save this copy as a PNG, what ends up happening, I'm going to save it to my downloads just so I have it in there, as MK boat template for AI isn't Illustrator anymore, but we'll just call it Illustrator. So that's that. And it's hollow. I don't care what size it is because it's just going to be for a mock-up. That's fine. Now I have a PNG in there. Since I already have designed my design for this boat, what I'm going to do after this saves, there it is. So I'm going to turn my grid lines back on. I'm going to come into my, there it is, okay. I'm going to come into my boat design, and let's say that I designed these layers on the actual boat. Let's just bring it in. My computer did not like me saving that PNG. I'm not sure why. It's fine. Hello? Sorry about that. My computer really did not like me saving that PNG. What I was saying was I went into here, which is where I have my design. It's at pretty good quality. I'll show you that when I put it on the boat. But I basically took those measurements of 255 by 26.5, and now I'm able to take all these layers. I'm going to bring them in as layers just so that we have it, so I can explain how to do this in here. Bring them all the way down to the bottom. What I am going to do is I'm going to make this my template group, color red, lock it. This here is what we're going to have as the final. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to flip it, and I see right here is where I made my break. So I believe if I'm looking at this correctly, that fits right there. So now I know I have enough material. And I'm actually, I guess I didn't finish this top here. I knew that it was going to bend. I still need to fix that just a little bit. But as for right now, this is what I have. I can bring it back a hair, probably there. Okay, so now I have this. What I really like to do to check my print size with everything that I try and do, especially on Photoshop, is I will hit Z. And Z is basically like clicking this button over here. And I will right click and I will hit print size. And since we're designing at scale, this is going to show me on my computer screen the size at which it's going to print. So if this prints off of my printer, I'm pretty satisfied with that. If this is exactly what it's going to look like on the film, that's my sharpness of my image, I'm going to be pretty happy with that. I got some crisp edges. It's a tad blurry because I was using certain AI images to generate this. But as for it printing on a boat, I'm perfectly content with that. It doesn't need to be super fine detail. So from this point, design's done. I've designed on my design layers. These would be considered my design layers. I'm going to take this, I'm going to turn my template off, and I'm going to flatten. Now, this is actually, I'm glad that this happened. This right here, I'm missing my cyan color down at the bottom. So I'm going to go back, Control Z. This piece, I don't want it to get scaled bigger. I just want it to stretch bigger. So I hold Shift. Could be opposite on your computer. From there, you can take that. And with this missing just a bit, I'm going to stretch it up just a tiny bit so I get my full print area covered, which is fine. It's not going to cut anything of the design off. This appears to be just a little bit darker. It is, see, 22 opacity, 16 opacity. Bring this down to 16 and we should get a clear match. There it is. Look at that. Okay. Now I'm good. I'm up to my print line. Almost down to that print line. I'm still getting full coverage. Now I can flatten and crop. If that was confusing, ask me in the comments. I have no issue going over these small questions about grid lines, questions about cropping, questions about how to import designs. So looks good, template off, flatten image. This, by flattening your image, I don't think I've explained it in previous videos, it rasterizes the whole file. It compresses all your, not necessarily compresses, but it combines all your layers down into one. Imagine an accordion folder and you took everything and you made it into one picture. So now I can go to here, I will crop, it says 262 by 26, that's exactly what I need. I'm going to hit Control C. Doing that is going to hopefully make a new file here. Yep, and now I have my file, 72 RGB, create, should paste exactly as needed. And because this boat is going to be identical on both sides, I'm going to rotate it so that when I go to send it to the RIP, my printer, I have no issue. And again, because this is going to be an exact mirror on the other side, I'm going to pre-printing this on 53-inch material. The height stays because I don't need to change the height. I'm going to go over to here so that this side canvas expands to that. Again, I'm not changing my resolution, I'm not changing my image size, I'm not changing anything, I'm just changing my canvas size here. That's fine. Now that I've done that, I can take this layer, I will duplicate it by dragging it down to this plus mark, reflect, and the reflect tool is just a, as long as you're in transform, so if you control T, you right click, you can hit flip horizontal. I have a keyboard shortcut, so I end up being able to do that. And what I don't want to do with this print is leave this butted right up, because then I'm never going to know where to cut. I don't know where that middle is. I mean, I could find it at some point, but I either want to leave a little bit of white, or what I like to do is flip it entirely with the white to really make sure that I'm not going to miss. That looks pretty good to me. I'd be able to save this in now and make sure that when I send it to the printer, I do a test print. I'll probably do a test print of this section right here so I can see the blue, so I can see the teal, and so I can see my print quality. Again, Z, which is your zoom, print size, that's what it's going to print like. As for right now, I go back, I hit that, and I would save this file as a working file. I would save this file as my final print file. As far as this warping, if you do have type that you plan to put in past a certain area, so we marked, I believe we marked this, which is where this cleat lands, that right about here, the boat starts to warp very forward. It starts to become the panel starts to go upside down upon install, and you might have issues reading type or stretching type or even losing it up in the top. But so other than that, I believe this is the most efficient way to do it. There are, of course, other ways to do it, but this is the way that I choose to. So I'm hopefully getting this printed soon. When I do, I will be posting pictures. I'll be showing a video of it getting installed, the whole thing. So if needed, ask in the comments. Please subscribe. I will be throwing another video up on for the Illustrator version of this. It's basically the same thing, except the way that you crop it. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.